This man did nothing wrong, nothing wrong. He simply went to the aid of a woman who was shoved to the ground. He did not assault an ICE officer. The video clearly shows this. And then he was sprayed in the face by a guy wearing a mask. Has violated, and I know this to be a fact because I did the research, violates every protocol set forth by the Department of Justice, by ICE itself, by every police department about the use of force. You know, you're supposed to de-escalate, not escalate. And ICE is in a 100% escalation mode that led to the tragic execution, because that's what this was, the execution of an American city in broad daylight for simply carrying out his constitutionally protected right to say, I don't want ICE in my streets. What I find even more disturbing is the ignorance of the American mob when it comes to the Constitution. The level of hatred that Americans have in their hearts to their fellow Americans, the level of ignorance that exists in the hearts, in the brains of many people who call themselves Americans. And the sad fact is, if we had a litmus test for American citizenship derived solely from the knowledge of the Constitution, the vast majority of Americans would fail this litmus test. I've never been more disappointed in my fellow citizens than I am today. This man was straight up executed. You may not agree. I mean, look, people can sit there and say, I voted for Trump's policies of mass deportation, that I support an aggressive ICE posture. That's your right, as long as what ICE is doing is constitutional. The problem is many courts have found that what ICE is doing is unconstitutional. But you can never, regardless of how you feel about ICE, say that it is un-American for Americans to hold a differing opinion. And there are many Americans who feel that what ICE is doing is not just unconstitutional, but un-American. And they oppose it. And they oppose it using the tools of, civil disobedience, peaceful demonstrations. And ICE has responded with excessive force across the board, whether it is the pummeling of Americans, throwing, tear gas, spraying, pepper spray, shooting, non-lethal devices, or straight up executing Americans in the streets of American cities. ICE has responded in a manner that should cause every American despair, because this is not what we want to see in our streets. Now, people may say, well, we don't want to see demonstrations. The hell you don't. That's what we're about. I mean, I don't mean to get angry, but my God, when Americans say you shouldn't have been there, what do you mean you shouldn't have been there? When you say you shouldn't have been there, you're saying you shouldn't have exercised your rights, your God-given rights, your constitutionally protected rights of freedom of assembly, the right to demonstrate, the right to protest, the right to stand up and say no to a government who has exceeded all bounds of normalcy, of legality. That is your duty and responsibility as an American. Other Americans may disagree, but my goodness, to sit there and say this man deserved to be executed in the street by a bunch of ill-trained ICE thugs, it means you have no clue what it means to be an American. No clue whatsoever. This man did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. He simply went to the aid of a woman who was shoved to the ground. He did not assault an ICE officer. The video clearly shows this. And then he was sprayed in the face by a guy wearing a mask.
You'll see the picture. That guy just blows him away at point blank range while Preddy is on all fours, although there he's only on 3. The gun has already been removed from him.
Here you have people in the streets of their neighborhoods protesting what they believe to be an illegal occupation. It's not a violent protest. It's also not a protest that required a permit. Under the U.S. Constitution, this man had every right to carry a weapon. And Kash Patel is dead wrong. Noam is dead wrong. Bennett is dead. The entire Trump administration is dead wrong. And frankly speaking, everybody who speaks out against this man because he brought a weapon to this demonstration is dead wrong. I mean, good Lord, I guess that makes every Minuteman in America dead wrong. Can't show up in Concord or Lexington, guys, because you got weapons. Take them home. I'm not advocating rebellion, but what I am saying is the founding fathers put the Second Amendment in there for a reason. And many Americans feel the need to carry weapons to protect themselves. I don't know what went through this man's mind when he strapped on that day. What I do know is that he was a law-abiding citizen. He wasn't violating any laws, and he had every right to carry that weapon and to be executed for it. We, the people of the United States of America, it belongs to us, and it can only survive if we are willing to defend it. But we must be willing to defend that upon which it is based, solely based, and that is the Constitution of the United States of America. I am tired of people accusing me of being not unpatriotic because I insist that the Constitution be followed. What they don't understand is you are inherently unpatriotic the moment you allow government or anybody to deviate from the rules, the rule of law set forth by the Constitution. We cease to function as Americans at that point in time. And sadly, what I'm seeing is a large number of Americans, we have submitted to the will of the mob, the whim of the mob. And the mob operates at the dictate of the emperor. And that's where we are today, where the emperor is dictating, the mob is complying. And if you feed them enough blood and violence, they'll be satisfied. This is entertainment for so many people. I voted for this. People said, you voted for an ICU law-abiding nurse to be executed in the streets of Minneapolis, Minnesota. That's what you voted for because that's what you got. The reality that this is a president who has publicly divorced himself from the rule of law. He only relies on his own sense of morality, no legal compass, just a moral compass, which is problematic in the extreme. This is also a man who is hungry for power. We see this with his so-called Board of Peace, where he creates an alternative United Nations where he is the chairman for life. People donate money that doesn't go to the U.S. Treasury, but goes to offshore accounts that he alone manages, in total violation of the emoluments clause of the Constitution. But the Constitution doesn't matter either because he clearly isn't bound by it, and Congress isn't willing to hold him to account by it. We have a midterm election coming up, and my concern is that the timing of this so-called insurrection is going to correspond with the lead up to midterm elections, because he's going to lose the midterm elections if we had free and fair elections. This man is as unpopular as the day is long. The economy is collapsing. His policies are ripping this country apart. There's a growing recognition, even among the military that ostensibly supports him, that this man has gone off the constitutional, path. And, so he's playing a very dangerous game. I will never openly advocate, or I will never advocate for a civil war. It's not the solution. We have a constitutional republic. The solution is simply abide by the Constitution, let the checks and balances play out, and have an informed American population participate in the electoral process to elect the right people to office.